good to be here with all of you, and thanks for coming out on this blustery day. I really enjoy working with the Chamber of Commerce. Amy is a great communicator, and all of you communicate to her, and likewise, she communicates to us and the House and Legislature. But a little bit, most of you have known me for a number of years. I started in the legislature in 2006, and I can tell you one thing I've learned is, well, one, it's the most challenging and rewarding job I could have, and I love it. But also, I've watched what total control by one party has done to this state. It's just not healthy. There's not balance. And we've had a decade of decline as a result. And you all are working in Illinois. You want to see Illinois prosper. You want to raise your families in Illinois. That decline is unacceptable, just unacceptable. We've seen unemployment rise. We've seen the ratings of our state decline in so many ways and become the butt of all jokes on TV stations and all that. A state that used to be known for education, for industry, for manufacturing, and here we have this decade of decline. So if I've learned anything in my job is that we need a new leader, and we need a strong leader that's going to change things. And so Kirk Dillard approached me this summer, and though I love my job, I agreed with him. Yes, we do need a new governor, and if I could lend my talents and support to his efforts, and that would be a big change in Illinois, the change we need. So I started analyzing the candidates, much as we're asking all of you to do, and without a doubt, we wanted somebody that's electable and somebody that's capable. And over when I looked at Kirk's qualifications, he is the one candidate that's been tested and prepared to be elected in the general, first of all in the primary and the general, and most importantly, he has a skill set, executive, he's had a stint in the judiciary, and then legislatively, we have the abilities and the capabilities to work in that Democrat-controlled majority in the General Assembly and make them work with us. We will have influence and control of the state agencies and making them work proper. Management, strong leadership and good management will make those agencies of over 100 or more work again, and will make the employees of this state, more than 50,000, work again for the state of Illinois to prosper again. So that's why I overwhelmingly knew he was the one I wanted to support, and that if I wanted to run with him to do so. So I bring the balance of geography, I bring the balance of gender. We know that a female perspective and a male perspective is very good. This state needs a lot of help, and I'm glad we're running as a team this time because we're going to go at it full bore. So with that, I've come to know and appreciate Kirk Dillard even more, and I would like to introduce my friend and colleague and the next governor of Illinois, Senator Kirk Dillard.
It is great to be here. I am eating my way down the Mississippi River today. I started at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast in the Quad Cities, and nothing I think is more fun as a candidate to go up and down the great Mississippi River. This is just a spectacular area, and I am pleased to be here. This restaurant is a favorite. I think this place is just phenomenal. And it is great to be back in Quincy. I was here a few days ago and saw some of you. Jill and I met with a couple of manufacturers in the area, and I saw many of you in the media who are around here as well. So it is great to be back. I will tell you that if you want to know what kind of governor I'm going to be, the most important and first choice that I made as a gubernatorial candidate was to select Dillard Tracy. So I'm off to a pretty good start. And Jill talked about the way we fit together quite well as a team. And we share the same vision of the state. And our vision is to make us a destination economy, as I call it, for people that create jobs. Whether it's Dot Foods, whether it's Knaphides, whether it's Curlin's, or any of the businesses from small to big, we must make this state competitive again. And when I started off this morning, Iowa's unemployment rate is less than half of the state of Illinois. And Jill and you all look across the Mississippi into Missouri every day. And Missouri's a fine place with fine people. But Illinois is the capital of the Midwest. Nobody has what we have from John Wood. Our community college systems is second to none. We run circles in terms of community college education and the way that fits hand in glove with job creation. You name it, we have so much more going for us in Illinois than any of our border states. So why do we have the highest unemployment rate in the Midwest? And why are we the second highest unemployment rate in America? That's just absolutely just unacceptable. We are overtaxed. We are greatly, greatly overregulated in this state. And we nickel and dime farmers and families to death every day. And our state government underperforms. It just makes me crazy, having worked for the last clean and competent governor of Illinois, who ran this state quite well. I just see incredible waste in our government. Medicaid is our state's largest expenditure. We spend more on Medicaid than we do in education in Springfield. And I was with Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin who concurred. Not only do you spend, we used to have 1 in 9 people on some type of public assistance. When George Ryan was governor, today it's closer to 1 in 3. So our welfare system has tripled in the last 10 years. Not my priority. But we also spend the money recklessly. On a per capita basis, Illinois, and we're broke. I mean, there's no doubt. I don't think anybody in this room doesn't understand. We're the lowest credit rating in America, 13 downgrades under Pat Quinn. But we spend more on Medicaid per capita than any other state, which tells me we're not managing Medicaid properly. The TV station in Champaign-Urbana 2 weeks ago did an estimate, and they believe that half of the people that are on Medicaid in Illinois are not eligible. And I love people from Missouri, and my mom's from Kentucky, but you know what? They can insure their own people. And we have literally tens of thousands of people who come over the Mississippi River to use Blessing Hospital because they get better services or a bigger Cadillac menu of services. So I've got to run the systems of state government, and Medicaid is the largest. The city's chamber said, what are you going to do? How would you save money in the state? I said, you got to start with Medicaid because it's the largest single piece that's out there in terms of a budget buster. And not only when you reform Medicaid do you save money, but you provide better services for a single mom with a couple of kids or a senior citizen. More physicians will participate, and you can make the Medicaid system much, much better. I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old daughter. I get asked all the time, why are you running for governor? And the major reason I'm running for governor is the fact that I do have a very unique background. And I believe, and I'm a product of Illinois. I went to college at Western Illinois University in that beautiful cornfield up in Macomb. And I love that place. I stayed incredibly active with WIU. I was its alumni president for many, many years. And then to law school. Jill went to Southern Illinois University, but I went to law school at DePaul University under the elevated tracks in Chicago. I have lived and worked and been educated in all of the regions of this state. And I love this place. I want my 12-year-old and 10-year-old, like I want your children and grandchildren, when they are finished with whatever education they're going to have, I want them to be 10 minutes from me, not 10 hours. The other day I heard a heartbreaking story. University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, #1 computer science school in America, #1 engineering school, agriculture. We produce more physicians than any other medical school in America. But I had a mom who came up to me. I was in Lake County, and she said, my son is a graduate from the University of Illinois. He's a metallurgical engineer. It's the #1 engineering school in America, and he can't find a job in Illinois. And he's working in Dallas, Texas, and she was sort of teary-eyed saying she, to go see her grandchildren, has to go to Dallas, Texas for Thanksgiving. And I just thought that is incredible. That a metallurgical engineer from the greatest engineering school, if anybody's from Purdue, it ain't bad either when it comes to engineering. But I want an economy in this state that allows all of our graduates, whether they're from the University of Illinois or Quincy University, to be able to find work here. And that's where Jill and I are laser focused. I mean, the Tracy family and Dot Foods, like many of you, knows what it's like to have to compete with the surrounding Midwestern states in all of America's economy. Now, I will tell you, Joe and I are clearly tested and we are prepared. This is, Illinois politics and being the governor is not a game of beanbag, as they say. We don't have a learning curve in this state to let someone who doesn't know what they're doing figure it out. And it takes a long time to figure out the diversity of this state and how to get a Chicago-controlled legislature to do things, I call it, not in their DNA to do, like live within their means. And, with that 12-year-old and 10-year-old, I look forward. I don't look backward. But I will tell you, I once did run in administration where we inherited $1 billion deficit in a recession, and we left $1.5 billion of surplus, folks, in the state treasury, all without an income tax increase. We paid our bills to Blessing Hospital and providers who provide services to the state of Illinois in 17 days. And don't take Kirk Dillard's word for it that we ran that administration well. Wall Street, for the first time in the history of Illinois, our 200-year history, increased the credit rating of the state of Illinois. But the most important statistic, and this shows you why it is crucial to have Kirk Dillard and Dillard Tracy as your governor, the most important statistic from that era of where I was running the state was we had an unemployment rate well below the national average. And if you're a Republican, I will tell you, as a side note, we made Mike Madigan, that guy from Chicago, the Speaker of the House, the Minority Leader, and Lee Daniels, a Republican from Elmhurst, was the Speaker right after I was finished as the Governor's Chief of Staff. So why wouldn't we want that kind of state again, I guess, is what I ask people. So I know what I'm doing. I know how to run systems like Medicaid, running the state of Illinois, whether it's our unemployment insurance program, whether it's the Department of Natural Resources, which has just been decimated by these Chicago guys who have run this state, or our Department of Agriculture. I spoke to the Farm Bureau two days ago, and I said, the Illinois Department of Agriculture used to be the nation's premier Department of Agriculture. Still good folks there, but why shouldn't a state like Illinois have the premier Department of Agriculture? And I've lived through secretaries like John Block and Larry Waries and other great ones. I know that agriculture is our most important and largest industry in the state of Illinois, but my vision with Jill's is to make this a business-friendly place, to manage state government like it should be managed, like a business. I've done it before. And then last but not least, the cadence of corruption in Illinois continues, whether it's been on the back burner or not. I thought we were past Rod Blagojevich, but I woke up the other day, it was just a couple of days ago, it was the 5th-year anniversary of when the feds went in and arrested him in his house, and the guy's trying to have his sentence shortened right now. So, that's picked up in the news media. And just to show you that the cadence of corruption does make a difference in our business climate, makes a difference, there's a fertilizer plant in Iowa where the gentleman was a University of Chicago graduate, and he said, look, it was pretty equal between whether I build this plant in Iowa or Illinois. The taxes actually were cheaper in Illinois, but until you take care of all that debt you have, and then the real killer, the asterisk was, and you know what, Iowa has a reputation of being a state that's clean. Illinois has one that has a reputation of corruption, and that plant's in Iowa today, and employed Iowans to build the plant, and Iowans will be most of the beneficiaries of the employment in that plant. So I never forget, I must lead by example on ethics as well. Last but not least, for this region, you couldn't have a better team, a duo, than Jill and myself. I am old enough. When I was a student at Western Illinois University, this part of the state was known as Forgotonia. That's not a term that I ever liked. I didn't like to go to college in a place or a region that was referred to as Forgotonia. And it's not going to be Forgotonia. This is a great region, whether it's Adams County or Pike County. I love this area, driving through Mercer County and McDonough County today. You all are the greatest people that we have in this state, and you deserve to have a governor and a lieutenant governor who really appreciate what this area has to offer, not only to the business community, but just as a way of life. But talking to someone who used to live in Austin, Texas, a pretty doggone good place to live, but he likes Quincy better than Austin, Texas. And
So do I. So in us, you get the extra added icing on the cake. Not only are we the best team, but we're certainly the best team for this region. I will tell you, last but not least, I don't care if you're an independent or a Democrat, this state needs a two-party system. We need the geographic balance. I come from Wheaton, from DuPage County, and I'm a suburbanite. Jill's a downstater, but I have downstate roots, strong ones. My wife and I actually were married in a small farming community in central Illinois of 400. So we're the right geographic balance. And then if you're a Republican, I will tell you, we are the only team, according to Governors Edgar and Thompson, a couple of guys that know something about winning the governorship in Illinois. Both Jim Thompson and Jim Edgar said that I'm the only person with Jill's help that can beat Pat Quinn, and Paul Vallis, his running mate, is clearly chosen to help Pat Quinn in the suburbs, and that's where I'm the good antidote for the Dillard Tracy ticket as a suburbanite. So I know I'm downstate, but if you really want to win, you need a suburbanite with strong downstate roots, a strong downstate partner, and I don't want to get partisan, but if you're a Republican, you're the team that can win, and if you're an independent or Democrat, I tell you, there's no action going on in your party. Cross over, and at least you know that you're going to have a team that's good for Illinois, but really good for this region in Adams County. So with that, I thank you for what you do. You know, most of you are business people. I thank you for employing Illinoisans. I never, ever in my own district, and I've got some wonderful chambers like this one that you run so well back in my area, and I always say thank you to people that actually employ Illinoisans for a living, and you give our families an opportunity to have a Merry Christmas, and you have one as well, and have a Happy New Year. You're going to see lots of me in Quincy, and with that, I'll take any questions or suggestions that you have, and I'm honored to be here, and honored to have Dillard Tracy as my partner as we move forward and make Illinois work again.
Jane's got a question.
I do. You talk a lot about Medicaid and what you do with Medicaid, but a major issue in the state of Illinois is education, and not at the collegiate level, but at the lower level.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do in regards to balancing out the budget for education in Illinois?
Well, when I get a handle on Medicaid, it does free up money to put in education, which is my priority. You know, I live every day, again, with a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. My father was a teacher. And education, and I will give you something I call my best-in-class education piece. I have a significant paper that is, and I will execute it, that goes from preschool through elementary school through high school. I'm on my local community college's foundation board. You know, as Mr. Nappi will tell you, community colleges are just so intricately woven now into manufacturing and other things. And I'm also someone that has strong beliefs that our higher education system in this state is second to none. No other state has that system. But I am going to live and breathe every day in making our school systems better. You know, when I went to WIU, I had to worry about competing with kids from Iowa. My 12-year-old and 10-year-old are going to have to compete when they're finished with whatever education level they can get through, and I can afford. They got to compete with kids from India, from China. You know, it is a globalized world. And I want to focus every day on preschool through higher education. Life is all of the learning process. And on my community college, work, it doesn't stop. Life is a lifelong learning process. Many people go back and get retrained. And I'm going to have a state board of education that will attract good people. And I'll get you my position paper, and I would love your feedback on it. If you think there's something in there that we should be doing or we're missing, let me know. Take this thing. If you're an insomniac, read it. And but there's a lot of thought process that is going into this paper, as well as my written paper on making us, or how to make us, a destination economy for job creation. My best-in-class program goes hand in glove with making us a place that employers can hire people with confidence and know that we're producing a workforce, and that's what we're doing in our educational process. workforce that, that someone can hire to have a system for whatever they're doing in their place of operation that is good for them.
That should be connected to the Dillard Tracy website.
Yeah, you mentioned the State Board of Education. What we find now is that they work at odds with our administrators, with our teachers, and what we're trying to accomplish, and they should be an assist rather than a hindrance, and getting those agencies to work again together. And then, sadly, school administrators and teachers and everyone else will tell you what we need most of all right now is consistent funding. And that should go hand in glove with getting a handle on Medicaid and the other overspending that we have within the other parts of the budget. But when, a school district says, just if you just tell us when you're going to pay us, and that is part of getting our budget process back in line, and the fiscal principles and restraint that it's going to take. So unfortunately, that's the easiest thing we can do is pay them on time and fund transportation and fund the foundation level to 100%. That will immediately show better performance, I think, in the schools. So that's a major step that I can see happening right away. Mike?
Few comments here. I too went to Western, so I know you're tested because you survived.
I did. And I'm well-rounded too.
Yeah, you are. I think we were there about the same time. I too have 3 children. They're in their 20s, and one's in Florida, one's in Texas, and one's in Denver, because they saw no opportunity in this state, and that's really sad and depressing. A little over a year ago, Chicago, our state legislature allowed Cook County to open up eligibility for Medicaid for 100,000 people who should never have gotten Medicaid.
Correct.
It's actually more than that. It's 250,000.
And then the state legislature opened up the eligibility wide open for the entire state. How can you change the political will? Will you be interested in reversing that latest expansion that we clearly could never afford when they did it?
Correct. And I think Representative Tracy's remarks said that one of the things we can do, even, and it will be a Democrat legislature for a while, whether I don't like it or not, they drafted or drew the legislative map. Jill had to move from Mount Sterling, to Quincy under that map. I had a primary opponent. So it's going to be a Democrat legislature for a while. But we get to appoint the directors of agencies, and we get to, within the law, clearly have direction to our cabinet officials. And whether it's, the Workers' Compensation Commission, where we will not have it a slam dunk for trial lawyers and personal injury lawyers, or whether it's my director or our director of the Department of Health and Human Services. There is so much that needs to be done on Medicaid. And, when I worked for Governor Edgar, he spent an inordinate amount of time, and it frustrated him because he wanted to work on education and other things. But it was like being the hospital CEO. I mean, Jim had to really focus on trying to make Medicaid innovative, and it was already an 800-pound gorilla back in those days. Today, it is just an absolute anvil, multi-ton lead weight on the state of Illinois. But I've got to purge the roles of people that don't belong on there. When Blagojevich was governor, he ran full-page newspaper ads in the Chicago papers that you could tear out, sign up for some type of public assistance. They never really checked whether these people, had income verification, where they lived, who was on it, and it's ridiculous. And Governor Quinn is not a good, strong leader, and he doesn't have the right people. He hasn't attracted the Joel Tracys of the world to come and work in his administration. He's got some nice folks, but they're not great people. And the state of Illinois is just running a bunch of systems as if I were the CEO of General Electric. I've got to go out and find world-class people. Then you got to have a state government that you're proud enough to come into. One of the things we did very effectively is we went to some of the larger corporations in the state and universities, and we said, would you take a 4-year leave or a 2-year leave from Motorola or from UPS or United Airlines and come in and help us redo our information technology systems? Will you teach us, some of some of the tools of management. And I've got to go back to recruiting the best of people from the private sector, but I got to have my state government that people doesn't think it's a joke. I mean, would you come to work for us and say, I work for the state, you work for the state of Illinois, you kind of mumble it? You know, and that's the bottom line for me is we are the greatest of the Midwestern states. And I want you to be able to tell people, you know, that you're proud to be from Illinois, and if you work for state government, I want you to be able, with pride, to say, you know, I'm working for the state of Illinois. You can go back to the private sector some other time, but I gotta be able to have a government that is run like a business, and they will come and share their expertise with us. But I gotta purge those Medicaid roles, or, you know, I'm not gonna have enough money to do what she wants me to do with education, nor what we should do for workforce development in the state.
And I will add, you know, we tried to reform Medicaid first start. Of course, the Quinn administration has been just extremely plodding and slow to implement those, and we haven't really seen the real benefit of the savings yet. But it's actually as simple as making, say, someone like Director of Human Services ask for a federal waiver to remove these people from the rolls. Initially, in the Quinn administration, they tell you you can't do it, the feds won't let you. But what I have seen is that if we force them to ask for the federal waiver, we get it. And that's how we're gonna purge those roles. And, you know, it's just, they'll tell you it can't be done, but, you know, we offer above what the feds require. We're the Cadillac Medicaid system, as you know.
Right.
And so we start purging those roles and asking for those waivers. Just like, you know, I worked so hard against that all kids Medicaid, or all kids insurance program that Blagojevich started that had no income caps on it. Those kids are still on those rolls because they haven't asked for the waiver. And of course, this governor will ask for the waiver.
That's, I was in it about.